Okay, we are streaming live, and at this point in time, I'm going to flip this over here, I think. Nope, I don't think. Nope, I don't think. Nope, I don't think. All right, I don't really know what's going on here, other than we've got some chat going on. I'm trying to watch the metrics as we move along here. So if you're just jumping on, Uh, if you do chat, I'm sorry. There is a bit of a delay in terms of me seeing what you're putting up here. It's not like Twitch where it pretty much instantly feeds in. So be patient with me. We are currently about 17 or 18 minutes until the live stream beginning. And I guess I want to start thinking about the things that I'm going to be curious about here. I've got my notepad here, so I'm ready to actually jot some things down as I hear them. Yeah, it looks like about a 10-second delay is what we have here. So, first thing, of course, I want to hear about is gear. I want to know what new gear we're getting. I want to know about weapons. I want to know about crafting. I want to know about play balance. We're just jotting some ideas down here real quick. And, I'm sure there'll be other things that come up as we move along here. And I guess I'm just going to try to enter this with an open mind. I will say that I've not been real happy about this previous season, season 21. It just really wasn't engaging to me personally. Now, I mean, others may have, you know, caught that differently, but as for myself, the play loop just wasn't very enjoyable. And I don't know what that is precisely, but I have some vague thoughts. One of them is I don't know how I feel about there being no power cap change, because without the power cap change, you're missing a bit of something that is part of Destiny. Now, whether or not it's a good part, I don't know. I just know that ripping it out without replacing it with something else leaves a hole. And we part of playing a game is to get a sense of satisfaction, that dopamine high you get from accomplishing something or winning something, or getting a surprise of some kind. And without having a steady goal to work towards, hey, I've got to get this, I've got to get that in order to raise my cap a little bit more, a little bit more. And then that cap being meaningful because you can power up for content. For instance, if you're a PvP player, the higher you get your level up, of course, the better you can do in, say, trials, which level matters. Or if I'm doing raids or dungeons, the higher I get my level up, the more of an advantage I can gain. I mean, there's something to work towards. And so working through content over and over has a purpose because I can rank up. But now the way the system works, where basically contest mode is enabled for everything, that's not turned out for me personally to be something that uh, makes me want to engage. Because once I got to 1825, it didn't matter anymore. It just didn't matter anymore. I'm not a trials player. So it wasn't as if I needed to level up, for that purpose. And I'm not even really sure it matters in trials. In terms of the in-game content, it doesn't matter at all, because after 1825, I mean, basically, if you do a raid, it's going to come in, or a Grandmaster Nightfall, it's going to come in 10 or 15 or even 20 above you, no matter what you do. So you could be 1850. It wouldn't matter. You're still effectively an 1825. So there's no point going after the stuff like I used to. And I would be 30, 40 points over the cap every season. I would just keep playing. And this season, it was like, I don't see a reason. And it's not as if repeating the same content over and over is so fun that I would just do it anyway. That's the way it turned out. You know, I'm a goal oriented person. I need to have a reason to do something. I don't do it just to do it, And without that background thought, that there is some gain being achieved here, I don't know. I kind of pushed away from that. So I'm hoping I hear something today that makes that continued grind worth it. Now, weapon crafting could be that thing, but it just depends, because I find that sometimes the ability to gain resources will not keep up with the ability to craft, for instance, or it's not worth it. So if they bring in weapon crafting on a lot of things, but make it so exorbitantly expensive that you really are going to have to pick and choose hard and only do a few things a season, then I don't know, maybe a dead end for me. Oh, take for instance, what are those 6 items you get where you can, and I don't know what they're called. You get them off of your seasonal 100 ranking. I think there are 5 or 6 of them that you can get that help you with patterns. You can make patterns or red bars out of specific guns that have patterns enabled, and if you find that you can't complete a pattern set, then you can use these ciphers, I guess you would call them, to complete your patterns. Well, I'm the kind of guy that is not very lucky about red bar drops, and more on that in a second. It dovetails into a discussion I have with my friends quite often. I've used mine up to complete weapons that my friends finished patterns a year ago on. I finally had to use those ciphers to be able to craft a BXR and the Dares shotgun, because I couldn't get those red bars to drop in Dares. They would not drop. They just stopped dropping. It turns out, and I want to touch on that, turns out that there was a bug. And this is something I'd argued with my friends forever and ever, and they wouldn't believe it. There was a bug that made it, and not on everybody apparently, so that the closer you got to finishing your patterns on red bars, the less likely it was for the red bars to drop. And I'm living proof that that is true. Because I have so many red bar weapons that just aren't going to get complete because I can't get the red bar drops. And that's part of my frustration with the game right now, is that everywhere there's RNG, I seem to suffer. I mean, like, really suffer. And I watch Grenader Jake, another person who's an example of this. And here's a man that probably by this point in time has close to 200 flawless runs this season alone. Did not get the ship, did not get the Sparrow or the Ghost. Didn't get any of those 3 things. Now, listen, if you've got a guy that runs through something 200 times, okay, and can't get any of the 3 available things that are going, something's wrong. Something is broken. I mean, that's what are the statistics of that? My breaking point came during Bolt of Glass, when it came back, and Vex was the weapon. And I ran it probably 20 times. And I know that's not a lot, compared to some people. But in that time that I ran it, I watched some of my friends get the Vex 3 times. Okay? I didn't get it. I didn't get it for over a year. And, because after that 20, I said, you know what, this is silly. It was getting hard. And this is the problem, okay, for guys like me. And this is as I explained to my friend, I'm not the best player. I'm an older player. I don't have the ability to just run naked through the battlefield like a lot of the guys I play with can. And what you find, and I've been in about a half dozen clans, is that you have a core group of raiders in every group. And, they just go after that content hard. But the minute they get everything they want out of it, they're done with it. Okay, and therein lies the problem. Because if you've got somebody on there like me, I'm probably only going to get invited to raids if they can't find enough people of their core group. So I'm going to have fewer opportunities to begin with. And then, once they have what they want, whether or not I'm in a clan doesn't matter. I'm not going to get very many more opportunities to go for that object. And even if I could hit it every week, I had someone tell me they had to do a dungeon 70 times to get the exotic. 70 times. Now I want you to think about that, okay? So you have 3 opportunities per week to get, because one for each character that you have on your account, to get something out of a dungeon, okay? So what we're talking about here, 23 weeks? Over 23 weeks, of not getting anything. That's more than a season, okay? So if you played your entire season in something and could not get the drop, something is wrong. And if this whole system is predicated on the fact that you might have to play it 100, 150 times to get the thing, I mean, like a year after it came out, I'm sorry, I'm not doing that. And that thought hit me like a thunderbolt after I did the run 20 times. And so you're talking about almost 7 weeks into the season by that point in time, 3 runs per character. I just decided it's not worth it. If this is the system that Bungie wants, if this is really what they want to do with it, then I choose not to engage in it, and I will show them by the only means that really has any power that I have. I will not play their content that is built on that. I just won't play. And if enough people feel like me and say, hey, you know what, this is messed up, we're not doing it, then they will see that in their stats. And Bungie, if nothing else, is always very driven by their stats. They look at that. They don't always interpret it correctly, but they do look at it and they do respond to it. And the point being, the only power I have to affect any change is to either engage or not engage. I won't just talk about not doing it. I just won't do it. And so that's kind of where I stopped. And you might say, well, Bill, why don't you go ahead and LFG if your friends don't want to do it anymore? Well, that misses the point. Even if they continue to do it, why should anyone have to play over a year to get a drop? Just so they can tell their friends that they had to play for over a year to get a drop? This is a selling point? No, man. And quite honestly, usually when something drops, it's the hot item for that period of time, and then it will get nerfed. And so the only thing I ever get to experience on stuff like that is the nerfed version of whatever it was that everyone enjoyed to its fullest, when it dropped. So there's a fundamental flaw there for me that just says, you know what, I am not going to desperately chase that stuff anymore, and I don't care to. So I decided a long time ago I was a platinum player in D1. I have been in D2, but I've decided I'm no longer going to be a completionist. I'm not going to be the guy that has to do everything just because it's there. I'm not. It's a big game. There's a lot of stuff in it, a lot of stuff I'll get, a lot of stuff I won't. And I'm just going to have to be okay with that because I cannot support a system that does that. And I won't. So enough of that diatribe. What I'm hoping is that there is enough content coming in the next season that has a direct line to it. I mean, I don't care how difficult it is. I'll go for stuff. But I want to know the path. Now, there are limits to that too. Some of these exotic catalyst items for a solo player, it's not a super easy thing to do, especially if you're not like a top-notch player, and I'm really not. I mean, I can do a lot of stuff, but I'm probably an 80%er at best, which has kind of been the story of my life athletically as well. I'm always the 80%er. I'm 80% as good as the best, and I might be an 80%er, But that's not good enough to solo a lot of the content that needs to be soloed in order to complete these things. And once again, it's kind of a similar problem to the raid thing. Once the hardcore people in whatever clan I'm in get what they're after, they really don't want to run that content again, because let's be honest, a lot of times it's grindy and just not a lot of fun. And that goes to the a larger issue, doesn't it? If your content, I mean, what's your goal, with content? Is it to make it fun, or is it to make it so much work and so grindy that only a few people can do it? So you've got bragging rights? You can't have both of those things, at the same time, unless somebody thinks that grindy stuff is fun. And I would have to think that's a minority, because my idea of fun is, well, fun. It was enjoyable to do. It was interesting. It piqued my interest. It played on some fantasy. I don't know. It wasn't just like, oh my gosh, this was just so hard, and I just enjoyed that it was just so hard. And I'm not against hard per se, but Bungie has a habit of overdoing something. They find a solution to something, and it's a solution to everything. For instance, if you look at contest mode, what they're doing with that. Contest mode is a good idea for raids first day and certain pieces of content. It is not the answer to everything. And I'm afraid Bungie might be trying to use contest mode to either get around development time on certain aspects of the game, or simply to solve problems like power creep. But if so, they may be cutting off their noses to spite their face. It just may not, in the long haul, be the thing that they want to do. I don't know. Beyond that, we're about 1 minute away from the stream. I can't believe I filled that time with just a lot of whiny stuff, but I did. And so we're going to go into the showcase here in about 45 seconds, and we're going to see what they have for us. Gear, weapons, crafting, play balance. I want to look at power too as an issue, since I've been talking a lot about that. All right. Should have grabbed a drink, but it's too late. We're just going to go with it now and see what we get. I think I'm going to turn off my camera. And let's just watch the showcase.
On a desolate planet. A silent god set in our sky. And it wouldn't be long before an ancient enemy, shrouded in darkness, showed up at humanity's door to destroy us. Over the years, our heroes would shape a story far greater than anything we could have imagined. Players would explore deep into the depths of Venus, hunting a machine god that controlled time itself. They'd invent ways to combine their mythic weaponry and their paracausal abilities to stand alone against monsters that took others, an entire elite squad. They'd race alongside their friends far into the early morning into halls of an ancient city where only a select few emerged victorious at dawn, clutching the heart of a dragon.
Here's another one. Which raid are we getting? Raid.
Their friends and their family into this world, and together meet new faces on this adventure who would become lifelong companions. Now, together, we approach the final shape. We're about to embark on the last expedition of Destiny's first saga. So let's be clear about the stakes. In the final shape, you will go inside the Traveler. The journey will be difficult. And what awaits you on the other side of this trek is nothing less than the deadliest entity we have ever faced. There will be no open betas. There aren't going to be any guides on the internet telling you how to handle what's to come. Whether you've been with us from the beginning, joined us somewhere along the road, or looking at Destiny for the first time, anybody who shows up on launch day is going to be greeted with this same uncharted world. A vacuum-sealed experience begging for you to be the first person to peel it open. So today is your invitation to go forth and adventure.
What he just said there was that essentially they're wiping the slate clean when we go into the Traveler. Unless I misunderstood him, it means your play experience up to this point in time, other than knowing how to manage the systems, should mean nothing.
After all these years, we never talked about it. Why I brought you back. Why you were chosen. The truth is, I didn't know then. It was just a feeling. But I know now. After all we've seen, all we've lost, this fight might be our last. So I'm asking you one last time to rise.
Look at the axe.
This is a momentous time in Destiny history. We've been building to this moment for the last 10 years.
The final shape is the conclusion to that journey. This is a moment in gaming that as a developer you just don't get very often.
Guardians and allies are fighting the biggest threat that the universe has ever seen in this big culmination of the Light and Darkness saga.
When we were thinking of what the final shape could be, it had to be a lot of different things. It needs to pay off this epic confrontation with the Witness that we've been setting up for years. It has to bring you closer to your allies in the Vanguard. It has to be this place that makes you feel nostalgic for the entire journey you've been on.
When we were resurrected by Ghost at the very beginning of this story, we didn't know why, but it was for this. The Traveler is asking us for help, and it's our responsibility to protect every living thing in the universe from what the Witness intends to do.
When we first start the final shape, we are finally able to go through the portal that the Witness opened in the Traveler at the end of Lightfall.
Inside is the Pale Heart of the Traveler. That is the stage for our showdown with the Witness.
The Witness has the darkness. It has always had a connection to it. The Pale Heart of the Traveler is what it's trying to use to gain connection to the light. So with both, it can enact its final shape.
The Witness looks around and sees a lack of purpose, no meaning. It wants to fix all that. So it's trying to put the universe into this frozen perfection where everything's just exactly how it thinks it's supposed to be. That is the final shape.
If we're going to defeat the Witness, it's going to take everyone. Failure is not an option.
We're gonna need the Vanguard, all of our allies, and all the Guardians to rally together and be brave in the face of Oblivion.
in the final shape, we're going to answer questions at the grandest scale. But what I find really interesting is that it's also a very personal journey where we deepen our relationships with these characters that we've known for so long. Zavala, Ikora, our ghost, get to reconnect with Cade 6. So, like, while there's this great conflict and everything going on around us and stakes of just unimaginable heights, it's still at the end a story told around campfires by a bunch of companions who have been fighting together for hundreds of years.
In the final shape, we're going through the portal that the Witness has opened up to confront it and stop the final shape. Inside the Traveler is this infinite, vast, unknowable, and we're landing on the Pale Heart, which is a fraction of really what is inside the Traveler.
The Pale Heart is weird. It's a little strange, it makes me feel a bit uncomfortable, and it is also just so cool and artistic in the best way.
The Witness entered well ahead of any Guardians, and so it's had time to kind of shape what's there. When our Guardian enters, the rest of the Pale Heart starts getting shaped also around what we've experienced.
This is the Traveler recreating the world in front of you as it saw on your journey.
One of the most memorable locales from Destiny's past is the D1 Tower. It's really a labor of love from the Destiny team. The final shape means so much to everyone who's building it, and I think players are really going to be able to see that.
The Pale Heart is our very first linear destination that we've ever done. I would love it if players felt that they began their journey in a place of safety and feel it escalate in danger, in surrealness, because there is this beautiful evolution of the space.
They see things that are more and more wrong as they begin to go towards the Witness's monolith. It's kind of this omnipresent, foreboding thing off in the distance.
The weirdest things happen as you get closer to the monolith in the form of reshaping. Kind of like deconstructing things and putting them back together just wrong.
The sense of scale you get out there, like as you're exploring these spaces and you're jumping on these reshaped cuboids of Earth, you feel tiny as a Guardian. You feel alone. You feel like you are not the force to be reckoned with that you have been. You're not the God Slayer right now. You're just this little person jumping from these massive pieces to massive pieces.
One of the things that we really tried to also capture is that the Witness keeps throwing everything it has at you. And so you're going to fight these new enemies, the Subjugators.
Subjugators are the new unit you're going to be facing in the final shape. They have an enhanced power set. They're performing stasis powers and strand powers to face the Guardian, while in support of all the other enemies you're fighting too.
They bring something entirely new to the battlefield, which is kind of this element of control.
They're back there pinging away with stasis abilities, throwing crystals at you, freezing you in place, tangling you up.
We're focusing you on the campaign and only the campaign. It's the most important thing in the universe at that moment. You have to stop the final shape from happening.
And for that, we do need the help with our allies. And so we're going to make sure that the core Vanguard team gets back together. Zavala and Ikora and Cade.
The campaign is just the start of the Pale Heart. After you've reached the monolith and finished the campaign, we open up the entire destination. And so the entire Pale Heart is going to react to you and what you are doing.
The campaign in the final shape doesn't really end with the final mission. The raids are where you defeat like the big bosses So it's only natural that when you are going to confront the witness, you're going to do that in the raid. But that might not be enough. This is a moment where we need to rally all guardians to be able to overcome the final shape and the witness.
In the final shape, we are inside the Traveler, very close to this energy. This allows us to have new supers, Arc, Solar, Void.
We want to create something that turns you into an offensive powerhouse, but also can benefit your allies in a support capacity. There is this thread of team play and like working with your friends to overcome the odds. The Warlock Super is this ultimate expression of solar energy coursing through your Guardian. This Solar Warlock Super is a callback to Radiance from D1.
Other than Golden Gun, this is the only other first-person super in Destiny right now. Your melee's like all these projectiles going off, doubling the amount of projectiles. Your grenade almost being sentient as it searches around, and then it hits a character and bounces off and goes to another one. And you're so overflowing with this energy that you are also giving it to your allies, allowing them to have their solar weapons supercharged, applying Scorch when they're shooting.
The new Solar Warlock aspect, when I cast my Rift, it is going to create this little solar soul that when it sees an enemy, it launches part of itself out and hits the enemy and explodes and scorches them.
It just feels very alive. Twilight Arsenal. It's a layered super.
This is the only ranged one-off offensive super for Titans in the game. The Titan jumps up into the air, summons this giant void axe, throws it, summons another one, throws it, summons another one, looks at a different group of enemies, throws it. And when these axes fly through the air, they stick into the ground or an enemy, do their void gravity thing where they suck a bunch of energy and enemies in and then explode. But that doesn't destroy the axe. The axe sticks around and you and your allies can go and pick up that axe and start wailing on enemies with it.
This super is insane to me.
The Void Titan aspect, I press and hold my grenade button to consume my grenade and turn it into the shield. The more damage it takes, the more it charges up, and then I can release that, and it creates this blast that deals massive damage.
The Hunter Arc Super.
Arc is all about finding the shortest distance between 2 points. The Hunter kind of rears back, takes this knife, and throws it across the world, and then is able to blink to its position, do the slash that just decimates anyone nearby.
One really great thing about that is not just you do it once, but you're able to do it 3 times, along with devastating attacks each time you do it.
The Hunter has an aspect. We take our staff, we twirl it in the air, which propels us upward. It creates this burst, which amplifies you and any allies near you.
It almost makes it feel like you're playing a fighting game, right? Like these combos that you're chaining together to do these different moves. It like takes that sandbox to the next level.
The more aspects we have, the more capable we are to do that.
It feels like you're like riding the lightning, you know? Like that instantaneous, like...
That was good, but I think it's more like... You know?
I like it, I like it.
Weapons team has been working on all sorts of goodness. We've got exotics, we've got legendaries, we've got perks. We're always cooking up stuff. We're always playing with stuff that we think is like really interesting or taking inspiration. We have Tessellation, which is this exotic pyramid fusion rifle. It has the really intriguing property of adapting your Guardian's current damage type.
This will be the first time that you can run a weapon that can adapt to be strand or stasis in the energy slot. So you'll be able to run an entirely strand or entirely stasis loadout. Tessellation has the additional property that you can special reload to reshape your grenade and suck it into the weapon and then fire out a super destructive single projectile. It's a really special weapon.
What's the one specific exotic that I can make that's like really zany that you would like right now?
What if Golden Gun was a sniper rifle?
What if you could harness the might of the Traveler? You know, we had a moment where we saw that Traveler beam cutscene. I know people on Weapons went, I kind of want that. You're like, that is incredibly dope.
So we've got this opportunity to bring back these iconic Destiny 1 weapons, but really turn it into something that feels unique in Destiny 2.
We have to bring Kvatstav into the fold.
The Red Death exotic pulse rifle.
And Dragon's Breath. Burn the world, burn it all. In the final shape, we have new weapon subfamilies coming, broadening what existing weapons can be.
Really, like, bordering on exotic functionality. So, for example, we've got a rocket pistol sidearm subfamily. We always liked the special ammo sidearms. This fires tiny, slow-moving rockets. They hit very hard, do a bit of AoE damage. They have a mixture of regular weapon and rocket launcher stats. We're also doing a new support weapon subfamily.
The support frame auto rifle is a type of legendary auto rifle. It'll let you switch seamlessly from firing at enemies to healing your allies. I'm really excited to bring it to dungeons and keep my team alive, honestly.
The weapons team is always coming up with new ideas. We've got a ton of new cool stuff coming over the next few years, and some new and really wild ideas, which we're pretty excited about.
Come on, take a load off. You've got a lot to cover. This place is only big enough for one dashing hero type, and that's me, so... I'm back! Hey, you two, give me a sec. I was magnificent. This is great. Anyone want a hug? Get your rock off my map. Worst case scenario, you die. But who knows? Maybe you won't. Well, better get back to it.
I'm quiet, but I'm taking all kinds of notes down.
In this moment where we're driving to the end of the Light and Darkness saga, it's great to see Cade like return to this world at this moment with all this change about to culminate with this confrontation with the long-standing enemy, the Witness.
Cade is the quintessential hunter. His presence casts such a long shadow over the story of Destiny, whether it was when he was alive or when he was dead.
What Cade goes through in this journey, how he serves as a catalyst for the other characters, the events that are uncovered to have brought him back. This is how the story had to end. There was no end to the Light and Darkness saga that didn't have Cade here alongside his friends to finish the job.
Once we started digging into the nature of the Pale Heart, I think that crystallized Cade's role as a guide. Cade is Virgil, and he's our guide through this other place. Cade is the one who is the most appropriate person to be the guide, because that's his job. That's always been his job. It just feels so natural for Nathan to be back in the booth. It felt amazing to just see him slip back into the role, like, without missing a beat.
Right, instantly.
In the flesh, or metal, as it were.
Cade's the glue that's always held Zavala and Ikora together. Having him back puts them in a position of questioning where they've been and what they've done without him.
You think about the journey that Zavala's been on and how he's been taken down this dark path, and you think about the weight that's been on Ikora, having to hold the Vanguard together, having Cade's voice of levity and brightness that he brings to that group, that I think is going to be great for them.
Well, at least we have each other.
We want people to take away that sense of reunion and that idea of like the gang being back together for this moment.
I'm here now. Wherever the hell here is.
Here we go, unlocking the path.
Guardian, the Witness poses a dire threat. And the Witch Queen holds the answers we seek. But only if we contend with her sister, Zivu Araf. It rests with me. Will you come back from this? Do not be afraid. and have entwined it with your light. Assault the Spire Guardian and open the way to our tides. Let them know fear. The death of whispers, and they do whisper. Fight in my name, Guardian. Every opponent you defeat strengthens me. My appetite rises for your brutal tribute. Let us show her what it is to be Hive. You have sounded the horn of battle! You are deserving of the greatest death I can bestow.
Season of the Witch is our opportunity as players. We've been annihilating and breaking Hive spells, and now we finally get to cast them.
This is this season now. Season of the Witch.
Has the key to getting into the portal that we need to go into. That means we have to go find Imaru, her ghost. Imaru's like, not so fast. We've got a bigger problem first. And that bigger problem's name is Zebra Wrath. If we fight her, she only gets stronger. Eris has an idea. It's a really good It's idea. A wild ass idea, yeah. She determines like, well, the best way to fight fire is with fire. We are channeling all of that energy that we're creating by going through, by eliminating enemies, and we're tithing to our friend Eris.
Bring me your tithes.
What does that mean for the characters and the player to kind of like be like Savathun? And that's where we went down the path of having Hive Eris. We want to extend that magical fantasy into the player then. That ability to have overwhelming magical power, that risk and reward into all of our activities and systems experiences. And so that's what led us to come up with things like Deck of Whispers. It's this magical deck of cards that creates amazing synergies with your buildcraft meta and with buffs and the activities.
They can then choose these cards at will, whichever ones they want, and then that really leans into the build crafting.
You actually are getting cards that you can then use to place on the battlefield and change the way you play.
I'm such a sucker for deck building. Like being able to like bring that element into Destiny gameplay has just been like, oh, chess.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
I don't know about this.
Brand new seasonal activities coming with Season of the Witch. We've got Altars of Summoning and Savathun Spire.
Savathun Spire is our new 3-player offensive. You're doing a lot more with Lucent Hive magic, but it's got a high amount of combatant density. It's got additional random encounters that you can come across.
The Witch's Spire itself, Savathun Spire, was like her reliquary for all these different magical experiments as she was learning the light. You're there in order to learn as much as you can in order to become a master spellcaster, right? To become like Savathun. The Altar of Summonings activity is really exciting because you can spend like 20 minutes in it or you can spend 2 hours in it.
It's a 3-player experience that you can hop in and hop out of. As you're going through this activity, you're filling the tithing bucket. As that tithing bucket is filled up, you'll get progressively more rewards. And then finally at the end, it'll cash out and you'll get a whole mess of rewards.
We really wanted to make sure that there was a home for any exotic mission content coming in seasons after the year has passed. And so we developed what we're calling the Exotic Mission Rotator.
Right away, we're getting Presage, Vox Obscura, and Operation Seraph Shield.
This is some of the most fun content the team has making. It's some of the content that fans and players of Destiny love the most. The most exciting thing, outside of just the missions themselves, is that every time we put a mission inside of that rotator, the exotic that comes alongside of it will become craftable. With Season of the Witch, we have a brand new Vex lo-fi PvP map coming. It's really exciting. It's got a bunch of really tight gameplay experiences. We wanted to make sure that we focus the combat a little bit more. With the new Vex network map, we really wanted to make sure we hit is like, hey, you're shoulder to shoulder more often. There's not as much deep sight lines that you're interacting with. And a lot of the flow of the map is actually built around this like kind of central pillar of the Vex network that you're orienting around.
And there's also some modes coming too, right?
We've got a new PvP game mode coming that's all about relics.
it's about multiple relics. So it's not just one, like the Scorch Game mode from the past. So we've got the shield coming from Vault of Glass. We've got the spear back from Season of the Risen.
And we've got the scythe from Season of the Haunted.
Yeah, so you're going to be reaping Guardians with that thing. It's a lot more tactical gameplay. It's all about running around the map, claiming these relic dispensers, and then grabbing them in order to push for victory.
I will take what I need. The words in my heart are the weapons in my fists.
We were feeling pretty Hy-Vee this season. Obviously, there's something in the air. And so when thinking about like what's a good raid reprisal that would really suit this very Hy-Vee season, there's only one answer.
Crota, here it comes. It's gonna be Crota. Beat Crota. It's Crota.
I have seen what the Hive call a god.
Yes. Necrochasm will be the exotic. Ha ha ha. I love this. Yep, there's Necrochasm. I'll never get one, you understand, but open to all players.
Heading into the final shape, we really want to rally all Guardians at the end of the Light and Darkness saga. We want to reduce those power barriers as well as catch people up on key story beats and make sure that they have a really great and easy time connecting with other players. In the final shape, we're trying to find ways to make power more simple and easy to understand, and also lowering the barrier to entry.
It's going to make it easier for players who have not been able to jump into game easily because they were held back by the challenges in grinding for the power levels that are required by these different activities.
One of the major changes that's going to be happening starting with the final shape is there are going to be a certain number of activities that are going to be power fixed. So it doesn't matter kind of what power level you are going into it, you're always going to be able to approach it. There's still going to be tiers of difficulty that you can do, things that are just meant to be experienced a certain way.
Things like Nightfall strikes that will still have power enabled, and that's where we're really going to focus the whole power climb.
The raids, the contest modes that everybody loves to engage with, that experience is fundamentally going to be staying the same.
I'm excited for this because I think there will be a lot more clarity for players in terms of understanding the relative difficulty of things, where they sit now in the spectrum.
One way that we're trying to do that is making it easier for new players to engage with you. So we're introducing something that we're calling Fire Team Power.
You can actually bring your friends along to play any dungeons and raids in the game without having to wait them to be at a certain power level. The person with the highest power in your fire team is actually going to bring all the others close to their power level, which means that there's no barriers really for any other Guardian to join you in this high-level content.
When it's combined with Fire Team Finder, it also allows you to find strangers, people you've never played with before, and have that same experience. That's all regardless of the power level of you and the rest of the people in your fire team.
Fire Team Finder is the new feature that's coming in Season 23, aimed at helping connect and find other people to complete the best and most aspirational content in Destiny. We have a tag system that allows players to be able to say, well, this is my play style. I'm really chill. I'm anti-sweat. I'm just really here to have a good time. Exactly.
Tags really allows players to show a little bit more personality, show a little bit more about what they're about. I think what's really great about it is with this launch, we're also looking at including inclusion tags.
As an example, one of the inclusion tags that we have are for colorblind players. Hopefully the inclusion tags will bring players closer to finding their community and even closer to the people that they're playing with. So once a listing goes live, players will be put into a listing lobby where players can gather, they can communicate with each other. So we wanted to make it as convenient and as easy as possible for players to not just sit
and stare at a screen for a long time while their listing actually fills up.
As a gamer who's typically more solo, I'm especially excited about this because it really is about helping reduce that anxiety and burden that comes with trying to make a new connection. The feature coming out today that I'm incredibly excited about is timeline reflection. Essentially what we have done is we went back to previous expansions and pulled out missions that we felt really represent key narrative beats within our story. We are going to have a mission for Forsaken, mission for Beyond Light, as well as a mission for Witch Queen.
Thanks for the memories, Guardian.
The neat thing about these missions is they're not going to be like one-to-one for how you would experience them in the campaign. You're also going to get additional pieces of narrative fed to you to like identify like, hey, this is why it's important that this happened, and here are the people you met along the way.
A really big one that's really timely for Final Shape is Cade's last stand from Forsaken. This is a moment that a lot of players, new and old, are going to come back to Destiny. I think this is just the right time to introduce features that are going to allow those players to jump right in and find people to play with and enjoy this content regardless of their power level.
We're reaching the end of this 10-year journey. What comes next?
The episodes, and the new way we're going to tell stories moving forward.
What's really important about episodes is that it's a really big shakeup to what we've been doing. Instead of providing 4 seasons a year, you are going to get 3 larger episodes. And so the first 3 episodes in this coming year are called Echoes, Revenant, and Heresy. It's coming right after the final shape. And the theme for the year is going to be all about the consequences and aftermath of the final shape. I think what's really the cornerstone of the episode model that we're building is the 3-act structure. The acts act as these anchors for us to introduce new weapons, new artifact mods, new activities. There's going to be new missions coming around the core. There'll be new story moments in every single one of these acts. We're actually providing more cinematic styled experiences throughout the final shape year and the episodes with it than any of the seasons we've ever developed before.
These new stories are actually playable as standalone. Like each episode is something you can experience whether you've been playing Destiny for 10 years or this is your first one.
You're going to be able to basically enjoy them in any order you want to.
I think the opportunity with this big epic moment is that we get to innovate the game. We get to move the game forward.
It's all about change frequently. It's all about deeper story moments. It's all about more weapons, more loot, more often. And it really provides the team with a platform to go much deeper into the themes and fantasies and story of any individual episode as compared to the seasons you know of today.
I'm so excited to see what the narrative team can do with this kind of new platform of storytelling. Episodes provides this awesome foundation for the future of Destiny.
We're moving into the next stage of Destiny 2. I think some people look at the final shape and they think Destiny 2 is coming to the end. And in many ways, it's the opposite. We're leaning in. We're putting the pedal to the metal. Episodes provide us a new, innovative way for players to engage with Destiny 2 throughout the year.
What makes a guardian a guardian? Devotion, bravery, sacrifice. We know that we were chosen for a reason, by something greater than ourselves.
Guardian. Guardian? Eyes up, Guardian.
Shaped by the fires of each new battle, we are forged and sharpened into what we must become for the fight ahead. We are the final line that halts the second collapse.
All of us. Every Titan. Every Warlock. Every Hunter.
What is it the Guardians say? Devotion inspires bravery.
Bravery inspires sacrifice.
Sacrifice leads to death.
The line between light and dark is so very thin.
Let's cross it together.
There are things out in the dark that only the dark can overcome.
heard the stories of the traveler's sacrifice, of darkness descending upon humanity.
This time, there is no escape.
It's going to be an exciting year for Guardians. We get to make good on a promise that we made way back in 2014. There was classic rock blasting, a fire team racing across our solar system, and at the end, a simple message: become legend. Today, you got a glimpse at how we'll be cementing your legend in this upcoming year. We're going to be heading inside the Traveler, experiencing a destination unlike anything we've ever built before. We'll face the biggest bad we've ever made, and we'll do this all alongside a streamlined progression system, allowing us to easily play with friends in any content in the game. And as the dust settles in the final shape, we're going to continue our legends in Echoes. It's Destiny's first episode in a new phase of storytelling for Guardians, with brand new conflicts born from the resolution of the Light and Darkness saga. These first episodes are just the beginning. But if you're chomping at the bit to see how the Light and Darkness saga is going to kick off the future of Destiny 2, we've got a ton of great content for you to jump into today. Going live after this, we've got Season of the Witch, with a new story, new weapons, new armor, new activities, and new PvP content, all alongside a series of story catch-up missions, allowing any of your friends to jump into the game and get up to speed on what's happening in this world. Then, next week, a brutal reprisal of Crota's End is going to join the ranks of our aspirational content.
Yes.
I can't wait to see you all in the Throne World as we learn more about the final shape and how we can stop it.
That was a lot to digest.
After all these years, all we've lost, this fight might be our last. So I'm asking you to rise one last time.
Collector's Edition reveal. Okay, I'm not going to concern myself with that because honestly, we got about less than 20 minutes before the game drops, and I want to just kind of recap my thoughts on what I wrote down, and I've written several pages of notes here, so bear with me. Obviously, it says we will be in the Traveler. Now, the interesting thing about that was, if I understood correctly, it's not going to matter whether you're a new player or whether you're an old player. Basically, it's going to be the same experience for everyone, meaning if I'm taking it right, it's essentially a reboot. Now, I don't know if that means we're going to wipe out all of our weapons, armor, and all that stuff. I don't think it'd be anything that extreme, but I think if I also caught it, it's going to be linear, which means it's not going to be open world. You're just going to have to go forward. And they said it was the first time that they've gone linear in the game. That was reinforced later when they said that it will open up, Destination will open after the campaign is completed. So one thing is clear, the way we play the game is going to be different. Let me pop my camera back on here so yeah, we can see this. I don't think that's going to work. that one didn't work. All right. Nope. All right. So we'll just stay with that. New enemies. They mentioned in particular the Subjugator looked to be stasis based and was the leader. Not going to get too much into that right now. Just going to continue on. New abilities. The Warlock is a solar-based ability, radiance-based projectiles. Looked like a lot of projectiles. The interesting thing, though, was that they also buff team members when they use the super. And they have seeking projectiles. Those are the things that just the quick note things that I jotted down. Titan is a void-based subclass. Projectile axes, interesting. They're explosive, but they don't go away. So the axes can be recovered not only by the Titan, but by other players. And I don't know if that's based on a super or based on ability. That's probably just going to be an ability-based thing, kind of like the lances are right now. You can consume a grenade, and then you get a shield that begins to accumulate energy. So like if enemies are firing on it, kind of like the gauntlets, I don't remember what they're called, void gauntlets that basically absorb enemy fire and generate super energy. Well, this is going to generate a charge that can then be hurled out. So Hunter looked like it was an arc subclass, has throwing projectiles, and the one thing of note that I saw was that basically you can throw something and then teleport immediately to what was thrown. So I guess this is kind of an extension of the strand, tether, and go. Okay, weapons that they mentioned specifically. The tessellation, which is a fusion or a linear fusion, I couldn't quite tell. It can either be used as a strand or a stasis subclass weapon. And it has the ability to consume a number of bullets into a single overpowered charge as well. Not completely new. I mean, you think about Izanagi's Burden being able to combine, 4 sniper shots into one powerful shot, or various other weapons that can change between. Or I think of like the pulse rifle, the Zero, where you build up the charge and then you can switch to sniper mode. Can't remember the name, but you know what I'm talking about. All right, so other weapons they mentioned being reprised: Kvostov, Dragon's Breath, and Red Death. And if you're not familiar with Kvostov, that's the first weapon you get in the game when you're resurrected in Destiny 1. And it's it's one of those white frame weapons that people kept forever and ever because it was actually pretty good in Crucible. Red Death is a fan favorite. An AR that heals you upon killing other players, kind of like Crimson, but in auto rifle form. And then Dragon's Breath is a rocket launcher that, of course, lays down large swaths of fire after it explodes. So there's that. They also mentioned rocket pistols as a new subclass. We knew this. This has already been revealed. They've got a support frame AR, and the way that works is you can use it as an AR, but you can also switch to the healing mode and shoot your teammates and heal them. So that has actually, good appeal for high-end content. That actually could be pretty cool. Cade is returning. They make references to him being a god and being Virgil. I will leave that to the lore people to sort that one out. Eris Morn. In Unlocking the Path, they mentioned Eris Morn, and then they ran the Guardian Credo over and over, where they talked about what it takes to be a Guardian, and one of the words they kept saying over and over was sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. Well, in this case, Eris Morn, that's coming this season, will essentially become a hive. I don't want to say god, but she becomes hive. And if you remember about the hive, the reason they kill is because the deaths that they accumulate are tithes to their leaders and make them more powerful. So everything a hive kills makes their leader stronger. So Eris wants us to tithe to her. So we're going to be killing in her name. A little dark. Of course, we must fight Zebu Arath. We must resurrect Savathun. We all know this already. They talk about a new crafting system, and I don't know what I think about that. It was a deck of something. I didn't catch the name of that. But it's a lot of build crafting that's more reminiscent of an RPG, or like, oh, I don't know, Final Fantasy or something like that. I don't know. I'm not big into that kind of stuff. I hope I like it. But the glance I got at it, I thought, not so sure. Mentioned 2 new activities. Savathun's Spire. That's a 3-man activity with a high enemy density. Also Altar of Summoning, which is also 3-man. It has a tithing bucket, which takes me back to Season of the Worthy. I think it was Season 11, where we had to throw orbs at collection buckets, and it was so not fun. And I hope we're not going down that path again. But it talks about rewards that come out of that. So you could spend 15 minutes or you could spend hours in there if you wanted to. We'll see which it is. The Exotic Rotator. Okay, so you've got the Seraph mission, Vox Obscura, and the Presage mission again. But the change this time is that the rewards that you get from it are craftable. PvP has a new map, Vex Network. We'll see how that goes. The new mode, Relic, which they mentioned. You'll have the shield, the spear, and the scythe from other game modes of the past that you can use to fight. Again, I don't know how I feel about that. The other PvP mode they mentioned, though, was basically the primary duel mode, where players have more health, their abilities come back slower, and special ammo will not drop from enemies that you kill, so you have to generate it somehow. So basically, they're setting up a primary fighting arena, which might or might not go. I mean, it just kind of depends, because it sounds like something that could play very slow, and if it does, it won't be very popular. I mean, because Destiny PvP players typically like the high octane, high action stuff. All right, we're on to the raid. It is confirmed Crota returns. It's also confirmed that the Necrochasm returns. And if you don't remember that, or you never played Destiny 1, the Necrochasm is a very high rate of fire auto rifle that in particular causes a high thrall to explode. That was its perk back then. I don't know what it'll be this time, but it is a cool gun. I'll never get a hold of it because it's locked behind RNG, but anyway, it's cool that it's going to be in the game. Then we go into the changes. They talk about, and this is a little bit of the stuff I touched on before too. There are going to be power fixed activities such as raids, dungeons, stuff like that. And your power level, I mean, beyond a certain point just isn't going to matter. I mean, they're going to have that fixed, which I felt like they were going to do. Then there are other activities they said power level will matter. Nightfalls and so on and so forth. Now, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. I kind of hope they would address that in a little bit different way, and they kind of did. This is probably the most interesting change to me, and that is the fire team power thing. And what always happens in groups that I've gotten into is that there'll be that person that wants to do content. Maybe they're coming back to the game from a hiatus, or maybe they're just new, but they're not quite leveled up. And I've got a friend in particular that I think of who just hates doing the content. He just likes playing, like the stuff, the real hard stuff. He just doesn't want to slog through all the other stuff to get it. And your view on that can be whatever it is, but there are people like that. And with the fire team power deal, what could happen is the highest powered person in the lobby, if they're the fire team leader, can pull whomever in. And then if I got that right, basically that levels everybody up for that event. And so, cool. And I really think what I'm seeing here is a push by Bungie to make the game more accessible to people who are just getting into it. Because they, let's face it, this game's gone on for almost 10 years now. And there's a lot of stuff to learn. I mean, you take it for granted, if you've been along for the ride the whole time, it's doesn't feel that complex, but it actually is. And for new people coming in, it can be inundating. So that is a nod to getting new players in without dumbing down the content like they did a long time ago when they first started Destiny 2, and they said we want to make this a casual experience. Well, that didn't go either. It helped new players come in, but it also drove players out of the game. This has a chance actually to help everyone, and I'm happy to see that. In-game LFG is coming. I'm not sure how well it's going to work. I didn't get a real good, clear understanding about it. But we're going to see real soon, because apparently that's going to go live here in about 8 minutes. We'll see how it works. Timeline Reflector. This is, going to be a part of what happens to Destiny after Destiny 2, quote unquote, ends. I mean, they say it doesn't end, but is that true? Now, Bungie has 2 other projects they've got going on right now. They've got Marathon and another IP that I can't name, but they're going to be putting all their time and effort into Marathon, because that's going to be their next flagship IP. And so this looks to me like a way for them to keep Destiny going and kind of have some refresher material once in a while, but no big expansions or, not the same way anyway. They talk about episodes. And there'll be 3 of those per year. And they are going to be Echoes, Revenant, and Heresy. And what it looked like to me, from what I could see, was that they will reassemble old content with just some minimal new story stuff to go along with it. Basically just, hey, this stuff happened again. We're going to have to go do this. They said these expansions will be bigger, but the devil's in the details, isn't it? How is it bigger? Is it more content? Is it more dialogue? Is it more, things to do, tasks? I mean, more can mean a lot of things. So we'll see what that is. But if I could sum that up in a word, it looks like reruns. That being said, though, it's better than what they've done for Destiny 1, which is absolutely nothing. Which I guess brings me to the final question before I close this. What happens with Destiny 1 now? Because that game's been going on, for 10 years, and it hasn't been changed for the last 7 years. Do they finally pull the plug on that? I mean, I don't know. The fact they've kept it going this long, though, actually bodes well for Destiny 2 at the very least, because they do, at least right now, have plans to keep Destiny 2 going. Whether that's live support or it actually has an opportunity to grow, we'll have to wait and see. All right, with that said, it's probably time to end this stream, and it's gone on for quite a while now. So I'm glad that you stuck with me. If you did, that's okay. But an hour and 13 minutes is probably about the longest stream I've ever done. So with that, I'm going to knock off here and get into the weeds in just the next few minutes. So this is Iron Bill thanking you for watching, and I will catch you later.